Hey, welcome to Talk JR on October the 9th. Thanks for tuning in. To my left, your right, I have a guest with us here today. His name's Chris Kerb. It's a pleasure having you on. Look forward to hearing what you're all about. I think people know Chris Kerb as a flood defender, the running for the Panhandle, running that organization. But I look forward to hearing who Chris Kerb is and why you're so passionate about stormwater and drainage and stormwater drainage and then flooding. So if you don't mind, I'll let you take it from here. How about that?
Well, how did we meet each other? I mean, I think it was you were campaigning to run against Stephen Berry, and somebody told you to reach out to me.
Yeah, so that's what happened. I was running for a local office the day I retired from the military, and then someone said, "Hey, reach out and get to know certain key people and get as much information and what we used to call it in my line of work. What I used to do is death by fire hose. So I drank from a fire hose for quite a couple months to learn as much as I could, and you were definitely on that list to deal with the stormwater and the flooding. So that's how we met.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to was it Stefani Raven had they were doing voting there, and you had a little booth set up, and Barry had a little booth set up, and I'd come up there and talk to both of you about different stuff. So, but anyway, I actually should have beat Barry, but hey.
Well, hey, the county spoke, and we're at where we're at. So, but today, I tell you, it's about you and kind of like where you grew up and where you come from, and how we got to the Flood Defenders, and how you know so much about flooding.
Well, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, and I was raised in Selma, Alabama. Went to public school there, Selma High School, graduated there. And I had a scholarship from high school to take drafting and design at George Wallace Community College. And I graduated from there with highest honors. I had Phi Theta Kappa, National Dean's List, top 5% of the nation, highest grades.
Wow.
I could do calculus 1, 2, 3, and 4. I made straight A's in calculus. I tutored the math lab at the college and differential equations, three pages just to work one problem. I could work that like I'm speaking to you now. Now, do I remember that now? No.
But also remember you're speaking to the audience too, so we got to just speak up just a little bit.
So I transferred to Auburn University. I got a civil engineering degree in 1991. And when I got out of college, I really didn't have a whole lot of experience. I mean, I worked construction when I was in college. So and this old girl I was dating in college, her name was well, doesn't matter her name, but she had a condo down here on Pensacola Beach and in Perdido, and I came down here to visit her and ended up staying. When I was growing up, my parents used to bring me to Pensacola Beach or Destin or Gulf Shores, and I was like, when I grow up, I'm moving to the beach. Moving to Florida.
Wow.
I love the beach. I love the sand.
So when was the last time you were back around Montgomery, Auburn way?
Well, I went up to Selma about a month ago to visit my mom. My sister, and I got two sisters, and my dad's died, my stepdad's died, and my brother-in-law passed away a few years back. But my mom lives with my sister, and my other sister's married. So, but I go up there and visit them from time to time.
Auburn's. The reason I'm asking that is Auburn's growing up. There's a Buc-ee's there.
I know. There's everything there.
Right.
I drove through Auburn. It's been a few years back. I went to a game up there, and
sure.
It's not the same. I mean, everything's grown up. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like here in Escambia County. Things are growing up here in Escambia County
quickly,
a little bit too fast.
Quickly.
I think we should have infrastructure before development, but that's another story.
I'm sure that's going to get talked about down here a little bit later on in the session,
yes.
right?
Oh, definitely.
So you were in Auburn. You went to the finished there with a civil engineering degree, and you just said, "Hey, I vacationed in the Emerald Coast, so I'm moving."
Yeah.
Okay.
Chased after a girl that I dated in college. And,
Fair enough.
that didn't work out. So.
Okay.
But I first job I had here was working for an environmental company. We did, back then, what year was that, 92, 91, 92? National Engineering and Equipment Company, they had a big contract with underground storage tank. DEP was leaking gasoline tanks all
Okay.
over the state of Florida. And it's kind of like an open book check. Worked there, I don't know, a couple of years and moved over to an engineering company doing stormwater site plan design for commercial and subdivisions. And
Okay.
then my check started bouncing there, local engineer, old school. But he didn't even review the designs that I did. So had ECUA one time tell me that I did a lift station design and submitted it to them, did it right by their manual, and the guy said, "That's the best set of calculations I've ever seen from professional engineers."
Sure.
So anyway, I went to work for an environmental company, same thing. I left there and went to work there. I think it was about 3-4 years, and then the last 25 years I worked for a Escambia County Engineering Department. I started out as an engineer 1, bumped up to
Unknown caller.
engineer 2, and then and somebody's calling me.
So just for the audience, there will be no editing that's going to show up.
Oh, that's fine. Hey, this phone rings all the time.
Sure.
People call me quite a bit, but I worked in development services, growth management, reviewing stormwater and subdivision plans, and
This is for the
construction
county.
for Escambia County Engineering Department.
Okay.
25 years total.
25.
First 11 was doing development review. I'd meet with developers before their subdivisions were platted. I was responsible for inspectors, making sure things got done. Any construction in right of way, I did that. And the stormwater master plans that the county been doing since 1994. I kind of know them like people know the Bible. Good Christian men know the Bible. I know them like the back of my hand. And by the way, Escambia County has 18 of 41 of their basins studied. And what they do is they model the basins. They come up with proposed concept solutions and estimated cost for that basin. And that's kind of how the capital improvement plan for Escambia County drainage needs assessment was done. I had a few developers that got upset with me. Oh, maybe because I did my job.
Sure.
And long stories there, but I ended up going to work in construction management. County engineer moved me over to construction management. Did that for about 7 years and earned myself a position as a stormwater engineering manager for the last 7. And
Stormwater engineering manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does that mean that means that was the stormwater engineering was your department? Or what does that mean?
anything to do with stormwater,
Okay.
my name was on it. I even continue to review development review. I kind of looked over the shoulder of a girl named Rosa Cessnoff. She handles subdivision and stormwater reviews in the growth management department. When she ever had, hot developments come up,
Sure.
issues with concerns, flooding or whatever, then, I'd help her out and advise her on that. So, and, 25 years with the government, I had an excellent track record. Employee reviews were great every year, annual reviews, and I don't know,
So 25 years is enough to retire?
yeah, but
Okay.
if I get 30 in, it'll be better. Getting
Okay.
more in state retirement, but I lost my job. I got fired after 25 years.
Oh. So I don't know if that's a road you would like to go down, but if you had a good record and great reviews, I know this is just you here, right? But I know that you're saying that, but why would you be fired? I mean, if you could, I don't know if you want to go that route, but
Well, I mean, I could go into real detail, but basically, I look at it this way: the Lord had a different path for me,
okay,
and
fair enough.
you know, it was kind of a lesson in pride. I mean, I like to run my mouth. Anybody who knows me knows I love to talk. So, sometimes when you tell people the truth and they're in charge, they don't like hearing that, and well, that's how I lost my job.
Okay, sure.
There's a bigger story behind that, but I won't go into all that.
That's that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. So what is it that you, after 25 years and college and moving to Pensacola and working for the county and the other organizations that you work for, what the engineer steps that you took, and the manager of the excuse me, stormwater engineering department manager, what is it that you had? You said the Lord had a different path. So what was that path? Like, what do you do now, or did it take a while to get there? What is it?
Well, I tell people on a short kind of thing, I got fired for running my mouth. Now I get paid to run my mouth.
Paid to run your mouth. Okay.
It's a great job too. I mean, it's
Well,
not even a job.
we don't pay here.
Well, right.
So
Well,
what could that be?
Well, Flood Defenders Panhandle. This guy called me up. His name is Jay Faison. He's the policy board chairman of the American Flood Coalition, and he's a philanthropist. And he said, I want to set up Flood Defenders Panhandle, and I want you to run it for me.
Flood Defenders Panhandle.
That's a Facebook group.
Okay.
And, I mean, we have a webpage, flooddefenders.org, but most of the stuff I do is on social media. I mean, my job is to help neighborhoods unite, have a voice, guide them to the Board of County Commissioners if they need help knowing how to maneuver or engage our local government. I can help them do that. I mean, being 25 years in government. And, it's kind of interesting. I give them T-shirts that say, I'm a flood defender, and by the way, I got a shirt for you in the truck.
Okay.
And if they come to the Board of County Commissioners meetings and they want to speak, well, I make sure they have a shirt. Well, if 15, 20 people show up in a neighborhood and you put up a video on the screen up there with water running through somebody's living room, and you look at the Board of County Commissioners and you go, hey, what you going to do about that? Well, they're kind of in a position, they got to do something.
Sure.
And I've been very successful. I mean, there's been a lot of projects started. I started out in what was that? It was, I got fired in 2020. I started out in 2021 with Flood Defenders. Been doing this 4.5 years. And it was right after Hurricane Sally.
Okay.
I mean, this is the peak of the time when they actually need somebody that knows what's going on with flooding. And
so you go around and help. You said the neighborhoods and the citizens, and you give them some information. I'm assuming, right? And you help them unite, and you give them a shirt, and they stand. Because I'm picking this out myself, and if I'm wrong, tell me. But one person shows up and makes noise. Okay, we can kind of deal with that. But 20 people show up, and maybe show up to 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings. Now, there's in numbers, right? That's what you're looking at. So, well, just out of curiosity, if let's say for me, right, I'll use myself as an example as a citizen. If I had an issue with some sort of stormwater or flooding, what do I have to pay to get you to come look for help? You're free.
I'm free.
Okay.
My boss pays me a monthly salary. Now, it's
Sure.
pretty much half as much as I was making for the county. But
Don't
it's
want to
not
get into
about
that,
money.
but correct. But I don't want to get into that. But you're paid by the gentleman you had mentioned to run Flood Defenders Panhandle. So the citizens don't owe anything.
No.
You give them your time and you give them resources and you help because your money is coming from someone else.
And he pays me out of his own pocket.
Sure.
It doesn't come from the American Flood Coalition. He's a philanthropist. I assume it's a tax write-off. I don't know, but
Sure.
But his family lost everything in flooding, and he kind of took it to heart, which is one of the reasons why he chose me to run this in Florida. Is I have a good name. Right after Hurricane Sally, I had this gentleman call me up. He was a news reporter. He worked for it was Flood Trends was the magazine, online magazine, and he wrote 6 stories about Hurricane Sally in Escambia County. One of those stories was based off of what the county's doing with our capital improvement plan. And I know all about all the flooding problems in Escambia County, working there 25 years.
Okay.
Matter of fact, after the April 2014 storm event where we had 22 to 26 inches of rain in 24 hours,
It's quite a lot.
we ended up coming up with a stormwater advisory team. The Board of County Commissioners, in their wisdom, like, hey, we need a team to come up with recommendations to figure out how we're going to mitigate this, why this is happening, what we need to do about things in the future. And a lot of good came out of that advisory team. I spent hours and hours with a consulting firm, local consulting firm, going through all our basis studies, and they put all the basis study recommendations into a report. It's called a drainage needs assessment. I think it was 284 projects for, I was close to 4 million. What was it? 400 million. I think that's what it was. Anyway, it's up to 650 million now. I mean, when you consider inflation, and that was in 2015. They actually changed the land development code.
So you're saying, wait a minute, 650 million
in drainage needs.
That's what's needed today.
Roughly. And that's with new projects. Escambia County, first time in history I worked there, they had $100 million in drainage grants, stormwater grants. A lot of those grants, I worked that program, grant management through FEMA, hazard grant mitigation program, NRCS, emergency watershed program.
Sure.
And we built a lot of projects, and a lot of them were grant-based. FEMA buyouts. You know, when you have a property that's repetitive loss property, it floods,
Sure.
twice in 10 years. It's severe repetitive loss. It was 3 times in 10 years. And there's claims with FEMA, flood insurance claims.
Yes, sir.
Well, you can get grants to buy those out if it qualifies.
And the county will buy that.
Well, it comes from your federal tax
Right.
dollars. Now, the county has to put up a match on them. It's usually 25%. The first year that I worked that program, I was real lucky to have a consultant that worked with us that showed me how to do global match. We had 100% payout on $16 million in grants. We didn't have to put any match. Our match was a project in Beach Haven that had already been funded.
16 million, you said?
16 million.
I'm just writing these numbers down that way. Okay.
But I mean,
No match.
When you got $650 million in projects, and you only put $4 million a year in your local option sales tax for drainage, that's going to take 600 years to build all those projects.
Yeah, but then more arise.
And then more rise.
So you're just always behind.
Right. You're always behind.
So my question would be, you're Panhandle, but you also follow other counties in Florida. I'm assuming, yeah. Right? And I don't want to assume too much because you know what they say. But so is this just a here problem, or is this all over the state?
It's all over the state, but
Okay.
I focus only on the Panhandle.
Sure. But I didn't know if this was a multi-county issue or.
Oh yes.
Okay. Because for a short period of my life, I lived in South Florida, and I'm not. And when I say South Florida, I don't mean like here. When you say South Florida, you mean Tampa. But when I say South Florida, I lived down in West Palm Beach, and we had some canals down there that would kind of help. But there's no canals here. There's no,
There's a few, not very many.
right.
Out
but
area. Yeah.
but they everywhere I go, you'll have to help me because I'm not an expert here. I just kind of in flooding or stormwater. But everywhere I go, they build these retention ponds, and whether they do or don't work, that's something else. I can't argue that fact. But I was just curious if that was a statewide issue or is it just Escambia, Santa Rosa, like majority issues. Has Miami-Dade been able to figure this out? What about low-lying Key West? Like, I didn't know if you knew.
It's a problem everywhere.
Okay.
Nationally, it's a problem.
Sure.
I might have some figures here. The National Flood Insurance Program since 1980 has been collecting claims. National Flood Insurance Program since 1980 has been monitoring all these claims that we have. Something called floodsmarts.com.
Okay.
Or floodsmarts.gov, floodsmarts.gov, and it's through historical climate data. In the state of Florida, since 1980 to 2024, roughly $19 billion in flood claims. That's claims through flood insurance.
Okay.
For 303,900 claims.
Okay.
Anyway, just give you an example, Santa Rosa County, I believe it was around 525 million for a little over 8,000 claims.
Sure.
Escambia County, I forget, I got it written down here somewhere, but a lot of money's being spent on National Flood Insurance Program, paying out claims to rebuild stuff in these floodplains. Now, why? And it's increasing. You go to this floodsmarts.com, you'll see, well, yeah, costs are going to increase, but the number of claims are increasing too. We're building in locations that we should not be building in. We're not building them up high enough elevations. You mentioned stormwater ponds earlier. The stormwater ponds that we're building are under capacity, at least in Santa Rosa, Escambia County, and Okaloosa County.
Okay. How do you know that? Well, real quick, I'm going to come back to that. Can I circle back to something though?
Yeah, sure.
You were talking about a buyout program.
Buyouts.
So when FEMA comes in and they say, okay, we'll give you the money. I'm just gonna. I gotta. You went to college, so.
I'll explain. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go there and you say, okay, this is in the floodplain. It's flooded twice. I want to enter these properties in the buyout. So the county, if they have to match, and you said the 100% non-match, and that's great. And you said it was like 16 millions of a no match that you were able to get approved, and that's fantastic. But now I don't know if they're matching or if they are. They match. They get the buyout 25%. Okay.
Some is 10, but yeah.
And they're matching, and they get these buyouts. Now I've driven through a neighborhood here in Escambia County. I don't want to put it out on this, but I would say 10 homes, and that's being very generous. There's probably more, and you know where I'm talking about.
Along 11 Mile Creek.
Yeah. So there's no homes anymore. It's just green space.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's all in efforts to, if the 11 Mile Creek floods again, and to not flood those homes. Mm-hmm. But my question would be, and this was kind of raised before, now it's just empty space. You can't do anything with it. Well, is that totally true? Because that's what I was told, and but I had read something that's not entirely true. So,
well, if you actually look at the deed when the county bought it,
okay,
it goes to the county. It's
Yep.
It's public. It goes in a conservation easement. Well, and let me explain how the buyout program works. When we have a natural disaster, the federal government the president he'll claim it as a natural disaster. Money starts funneling into the state that's under that natural disaster declaration. Well, that's just to repair the existing infrastructure and deal with getting us back on our feet. There's something called the Stafford Act. The Stafford Act sets up money to go into hazard mitigation. In other words, I don't remember what the percentage is, but let's just say it's 5-10% of all your damages. They'll allocate that money going over into a hazard grant mitigation program. That's just through FEMA. NRCS, National Resource Conservation Service, they also have funding programs. EPA has funding programs, but there's a lot of different, agencies that put out grants for, stormwater, drainage, water quality, buyouts, and that money that's set aside for that, you apply for it. Only your municipalities and nonprofits can apply for this grant.
Okay.
It goes through a local mitigation strategy review. They rank them. They send them up to the state and say, these are the ones that we want to approve. And it goes through Florida Department of Emergency Management. Emergency Management, they get all these in from all the counties, and they award grants to the counties based off the rankings. They figure out which ones are going to get money. Each county gets a certain amount set aside for them. And if that money's not spent, well, you have an option, something called Tier 2. That money, if it's not spent in this county, it can be put over to other grants that have been applied for that didn't have enough funding for. So what a buyout is that's a home that continues to flood over and over again, and it's documented through the federal government, National Flood Insurance Program. Now, one of the problems with that program is it's going in debt. In 2023, we paid out $6 billion in interest
Just on that.
on what we owe by borrowing money for that program. That program was not working because the flood maps that we have do not reflect the reality of flooding. They should probably be at 500-year storm events, and I'll explain what that is in a minute,
Sure.
instead of 100-year storm events. But Escambia County didn't even go to a 100-year storm event for their design standards until the 2014 flood event, where we had 22 to 26 inches of rain. We were doing a 25-year design storm. That means 1 divided by 25 is 4% chance. A 100-year storm is 1 in 100, a 1% chance.
Sure.
1% probability. And how do they come up with that? Well, they got rain gauges all over the United States. They take those rain gauges, they run it through statistical evaluation, and they say, well, this is a 1% chance, this is 4% chance, this is 5% chance. And they even do it through different hours, a 1 hour storm, 2 hour storm, 3, 20, 10, 24. Most counties in the Panhandle do a 100-year, 24-hour storm. Up to and including, you have to include all your other storm events, like an 8-hour storm. Most storms peak out in an 8-hour storm. What does all this mean? Well, the bottom line is you got rainfall data that you use to do stormwater designs with. It's historical data, it's statistical. What Escambia and Santa Rosa County, and it's being used in Okaloosa County, although they say they require the newer data. It's based off of 1979 rainfall charts. It doesn't include the last 45 years of rainfall data. Well,
Is the last 45 years of rainfall data not available?
oh, it's available.
Okay.
Matter of fact, NOAA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, they put out something called NOAA Atlas 14. They have different regions of the United States. Last model that was put out for our southeast region was 2012, and that's more up-to-dated rainfall data.
Okay.
Well, what's the difference? Well, at the Pensacola Airport, which is one of the rain gauges, there's another one up in Jay, Florida. We only have two in this area of Escambia and Santa Rosa County.
Okay.
The difference in rainfall from 45 years ago, it's DOT archive data, it's 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 2.6 inches actually. When you go up to J, Florida, it's 2 inches. We'll take 2 inches and multiply it over 100 acres. It's a lot of water. We're developing using old rainfall data, and our ponds are smaller than they need to be. What happens when you put 16 ounces of water in a 14-ounce cup? The water overflows. Where's it going to go?
Cup runneth over.
It runneth over. Runneth over into people's living rooms, and it expands our floodplains and our creeks, which are already not very well identified with our flood insurance rate maps, because the maps that says, well, hey, you got to have flood insurance, they don't really do a good job. They don't reflect the reality of flooding. There are places that we just bought, Escambia County just bought out. Dee Ruletsky, she lives over in Windrose subdivision. Those homes in that neighborhood in Bayou Marcus, they didn't flood. They didn't start flooding until 2012. Why? So nobody's asked this question, why? Well, I'll tell you why. I know the answer why. For years and years and years, we've been doing 25-year design storms. We didn't have stormwater regulations until around 1980s.
Okay.
So it was take all the water to the nearest creek, the nearest wetlands. Now, a lot of those roads in that basin that drains through the creek behind one of my Flood Defenders homes in Windrose subdivision, they drain the state roads. They've been requiring 100-year design since, I think, 1986. Chapter 1486 is the DOT's requirements for drainage connections. So they've been requiring 100-year design. But DOT was the one publishing this data from 1979. Now,
but that was in the 80s, you said.
Right.
So that seems legit. If it's a 79 data and it was published in the 80s, that seems fair to me.
That's when their standards came up. I mean,
sure. But now it's 2025. But we're still using 79. And you said there's a more recent one?
Yeah.
So
it's
what
called No Atlas 14.
Sure, that's what you brought up. So
and in 2026, the federal government, they passed the Floods Act and the Precept Act, which requires that NOAA update their rainfall data used in stormwater design every 10 years.
So coming up next year, they'll update it. Okay.
It will be released to the public.
So
they've already done several regions, and preliminary reports have been sent out and under review.
So if I'm getting this, just let me try to button
regurgitate
this part up. Yeah. So the buyout program is ramping up, and you're saying it's a federal buyout program, and it happens around the country.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
And that majority is using 1979 NOAA Atlas data.
Well, that's for stormwater designs.
Stormwater design.
Like if you do a site plan,
Sure.
commercial site plan, you got to have a stormwater pond.
Correct.
If you do a subdivision, you got to have a stormwater pond.
Okay. So, but you're saying that if that stormwater design is inadequate and areas are flooding now, you're saying that the American people, and that includes Escambia and Santa Rosa County and whoever else is watching online right here, we're paying $6 billion in interest a year just on a buyout program.
No, that's for the National Flood Insurance Program.
National Flood Insurance Program.
Yeah, that's to rebuild people that have claims with flood insurance. Now, that doesn't include people that doesn't have flood insurance.
Yeah, that's the only ones that we can track.
The people that have flood insurance, they're in a high hazard flood zone. They're required when they get a mortgage to have that flood insurance in order to have that mortgage, because the banks don't want to give it.
Right.
That's a risk.
So
it's costing taxpayers money to rebuild, because those insurance premiums for flood insurance, it don't cover the cost to rebuild. It just don't. I mean,
so all the information that you're saying here today. Now, I want to ask this because of people viewing and myself. Is this Chris Kerb just saying this, or
No.
how can we go see this? How can we look this up? And that way, and please say it slowly if they want to go look this up, because I want to get right into something else right as you say this. Like kind of like fact checkers. I want people to be able to look this up. Do you have anything? Or do you have
I sure do.
maybe
I sure do. Yeah.
information just to spit real quick?
Well,
but say it slowly enough they can use it.
you can type in 339.157 Florida statutes. That's where DOT archived their 1979 rainfall data.
Okay.
And the reason they archived it, that state statute was put out by Florida legislation, and I believe the American Flood Coalition had a lot to do with this, but the legislation that was put out basically required them to have a resilience action plan. Pretty much flood resilience action plan,
Okay.
but you know, a lot of people don't like climate change. They don't like that term sea level rise or climate change. You know, it's been all political, but we're having stronger, more intense, more frequent storms now
Sure.
that we didn't have 50 years ago. Now,
Right.
do we have storms? Well, maybe. And we had some pretty major storm events, but we're
What is
not.
that?
But not
One in
22
100 years.
Yeah. Well, see
Just going off what you say.
Well, see that's a nomenclature. I don't know
Sure.
who came up with that a long time ago, but 100-year storm don't mean every 100 years. And matter of fact, it's just a 1% chance. In actuality, there's an organization that's real tight with American Flood Coalition, the First Street Foundation. They do a lot of research. A lot of insurance companies go to them to look at their data before they look at FEMA's data, flood insurance amounts, because it's a lot more accurate. Anyway, they did some modeling of the United States and a lot of these storm events. We're basically getting a 100-year storm every 8 years on average across the nation. So, are we doing things right? There's plenty of news articles that have been put out about using archived rainfall data, obsolete rainfall data. It's not just happening here. It's happening all across
Sure.
the country. I mean, we had 3,000-year storms. That's 0.01% chance that we're going to have a storm event of that magnitude.
Huh.
We had 3 of them in 2 weeks. Remember when Texas flooding that happened, about a couple months ago?
Sure do.
Maybe it's 3 months now. Anyway,
It's a while.
it's been that week across the country. We had 3, no, it was 4,000-year storms on record. People are dying from this.
Yes.
This is not just losing property. People are dying from being flooded out in these major storm events.
Carolina.
We got
What happened up in
North Carolina,
Yeah.
Illinois, Texas. I can't remember the other one. I can't remember the other
Sure.
one. I got it written down in here, but I can find it if you want. But I post this stuff on our Flood Defender Panhandle group page. A lot of this stuff. I mean, I'm not just making this stuff.
No,
everything that I have, that I provide, is based off sources of information.
That's right.
You know.
I just wanted them to be able
Yeah,
to
I
look
mean,
up and
yeah, I mean,
check it.
you-
I see your folder and I see your books. I see everything. I can see what's back here, and I can see the websites. I can see your DOT forms. I see your notes. I see the meeting minutes here, and I see everything, right? But
They don't.
right? And your Facebook site is you want to say it real quick? Just real quick.
It's Flood Defenders Panhandle. Flood Defenders Panhandle.
Okay. And I know you always have links to sites there and everything else.
Right.
And, DOT, you already cited the DOT, the chapter and all that. I just wanted to give them, that way
Right.
you got credibility,
Now,
right? So,
Well,
but
let me
moving
go
on.
on to one other thing before we
Okay.
get off that subject.
Okay.
So in the state of Florida, DOT, Florida Department of Transportation, they said we're going to use national rainfall data, NOAA Atlas 14, actually the most current NOAA rainfall data and sea level rise data to do our stormwater permitting, our designs, and anything that comes to the state of Florida, DOT, transportation. they're going to require you. They are requiring that you use the new rainfall data that's available, the most current.
And you're
And
saying
they-
that's NOAA Atlas 14?
NOAA Atlas 14, and in 2026 it'll be NOAA Atlas 15.
Okay.
They actually archived their old rainfall data, and I have a chart of that right here if I can find it.
So while you're looking for that chart, I'm going to circle back here, right? That's why I kind of set it up this way. What is, and for the sake of this conversation here, what is Escambia County using?
They're using the old archived 1979 old FDOT rainfall data.
Okay, so the state of Florida Department of Transportation is now using NOAA Atlas 14, the most up-to-date rainfall data, to design whatever they build.
Right.
And Escambia County is basically what you're saying is using 1979 data, right? Which you said up in Jay, Florida, which is not Escambia County. That's actually Santa Rosa County. Is a 2-inch difference from 1979, and down at the Pensacola Airport, which is Escambia County, is a 2.6-inch difference from 1979 on the average rainfall.
Right.
Okay, so we are short 2 inches in the north and 2.6 in the south by using. So how come? What is now? This is going to be an opinion-based question on your history of the 25 years, the college, the engineering positions, the working with different organizations, and what you have. Why do you think the county will not adopt the new? I mean,
Money.
they've had time to do it. I think
Money.
money,
It's all about money.
money.
If you
Well,
got,
what does
if
it
you got
cost?
to build,
What does it cost the county to adopt the new regulations? Does it cost county to change wording?
well, this is the way it works. So, if I got to build a stormwater pond and it's got to be bigger volume,
Sure.
in other words, I'm building a 16-ounce cup versus a 14-ounce cup or a 13-ounce cup. That's going to be a little bit bigger pond.
Okay.
It's going to be. Matter of fact, the county went through professional advisory committee. They had meetings before the planning and zoning board. All that in order to get a regulation to update their standards, and they took it to the Board of County Commissioners. What did county commissioners do? They kicked the can down the road. Oh, we don't want to pass this ordinance now. Now, why do we don't want to pass this ordinance now? Because you had the West Florida Home Builders Association attorney, you had the president of the West Florida Home Builders Association, and you had the liaison, engineering liaison for the West Florida Home Builders Association, get up before the board and speak against it. They don't want to pay 5 to 20% more volume in their ponds. They don't want their storm pipes being a little bit bigger. Why? Because it costs them money. It cuts into their profits. Well, guess what it does? It costs the taxpayers money later on to fix stuff that our developers have messed up. Accumulative now. To give you an example, 11 Mile Creek.
Mm-hmm.
That subdivision, you got Bristol Park on one side, Ashbury Hills on the other side. You got a whole bunch of property all the way down to 10 Mile Road along that creek that has flooding. 160 homes flooded in April 2014 in that subdivision. 100 of them flooded in Hurricane Sally.
Yeah.
That's documented through
Sure.
the county. Now, why? Well, there was a class action lawsuit against the International Paper going, hey, why don't, their pond blew out and caused us to flood. No.
That's what I've heard.
Everybody.
It's all
Yeah.
International Paper's fault. That's
Yeah.
what I've heard.
What, 180, 100 acres, 120, I don't know how big the site is, but that's in a 22,000 acre basin. Every single stormwater pond was overflowing in April 2014, with the exception of one. I can take you right to that pond was overflowing at the same time. Some of them were actually breaching their berms and blowing out, which is what happened in International Paper. So you can't point a finger at International Paper for 22,000 acres that are draining down through a creek. What you can point a finger to is design standards that we've been using for years that do not reflect the reality of flooding. We're using old rainfall data. Oh, before April 2014, we were doing a 25-year design storm, which is 4% chance of flooding. It took the April 2014 flood event before Escambia County stepped up and said, oh, we need to go with what the rest of the state's doing is 100-year. I mean, your flood maps are based off a 100-year storm. Why wouldn't everything else be based off?
Sure.
But your code says you do 100-year, your post-development flow rates. That's after you add all your houses and pervious area. You calculate that flow rate. And then you have a pre-development flow rate. Let's say it's a wooded area. That flow rate is different. When you add asphalt, the water goes across it faster. When you add buildings, water runs across it faster. Versus a wooded field, it goes through a lot slower.
Sure.
You have to accommodate the pre-development versus the post-development flow rates. It's all based off your area, your intensity of your storm, what rainfall are you bringing in, and your runoff coefficients, which is asphalt versus grass or trees. So, and you have to basically take a cup, and you're putting that water in the cup. That cup's got to be big enough to accommodate whatever area, whatever intensity is going into that pond. That's how stormwater's done. Well, if your main factor is rainfall data that is incorrect, technically you're not meeting your own code because you're using data that is inaccurate. So what happens? Your creeks, the floodplains in your creeks go out of their banks. They flood homes. Remember I told you Windrose subdivision over in Bayou Marcus? They didn't start flooding until around 2012. Why? Because all the developments that are in that basin have been using 25-year design storms or old rainfall data. And there's other situations. You got exemptions in permitting through the state of Florida where they don't have to build stormwater ponds if they're widening the shoulder of the road, doing widening improvements. They can just take it right off to the creek. Then you got wetlands that being dedicated to private ownership, either a homeowners association, they get put in conservation, and you're taking all this water to these wetlands that are natural drainage ways. Who's maintaining those wetlands? Who takes the trees out of those wetlands? It's private property. When we have a hurricane, trees go down. Who cleans out the beaver dams? Nobody. Then you take projects where you widen, like Fairfield Drive. Fairfield Drive was widened. It was actually under construction in April 2014. They were widening it, putting shoulders on it, adding in drainage improvements. They took it down the same ditch that went to that creek for years. It went down the same ditch. Did they make improvements to it? Did they put a stormwater pond in it? No. Matter of fact, they actually filled up a pond that was on a parcel right before it gets into the creek with mud and sand from that storm event that washed off their construction site. Did they clean that out? No. The county did a project over there where we took a grass ditch and made it concrete. Water runs across concrete a lot faster than it does grass. All these accumulative things make your floodplains bigger and make homes flood. And it's the only way to fix it is to do basin studies, come up with plans, and start using accurate stormwater design. DEP, Northwest Florida Water Management District, they don't use the same standard as DOT is using now. DOT just adopted the NOAA standard in 2024.
Okay.
They archived their data in 2023, the old stuff.
Sure.
But every year they publish a new design manual. And in their design manual in 2024 is when they adopted NOAA officially.
You said doing a basin study, but you mentioned basin study earlier in our conversation, but didn't you say that only 18 of 41 are being studied here in Escambia County?
They started doing basin studies in 1994.
Okay.
They did 11 Mile Creek, 8 Mile Creek, and Scenic Hills basins.
Okay.
And when I say basins, that's a watershed that goes to like a creek, like 8 Mile Creek. Anything that drains into 8 Mile Creek goes into that. 11 Mile Creek was another basin study. That's the one where had a lot of flooding along Bristol Park off 297, Ashbury Hills. Did 17 buyouts in there, and they're getting ready to do more. Right now, Escambia County has 49 properties under grants that they're working toward buying those out. Now, those properties go into conservation. You mentioned earlier that they can't be used for anything.
No,
that is wrong.
Is there?
They can be used.
I was told by verbal telling, I heard someone say, well, we can't do anything with them.
You can use them as part of a drainage project.
Okay.
You can use them. Let's say
I know you mentioned the deed. What's on the deed?
Yeah, you can't put a house
Sure.
back there. You can't sell it to somebody else. It's conservation land.
Okay.
But let's say it's right along a creek.
Sure.
You can take that creek bank and lay it back into that property.
Okay.
You can use that as access. Matter of fact, if I do remember correctly, because I asked this of our consultant, that really expert in grants. I said, well, what if you want to build a stormwater park out of it, and you want to put like a little bathroom there?
Well, what is a stormwater park?
That's a stormwater facility, whether it be a stormwater pond, a wet detention pond. That has amenities like you might have a walking path around it. City of Pensacola's done a couple of stormwater parks.
Sure.
You know, they got a fountain out there. You got a little parking area.
Okay.
So has a dual use. One of my projects that I did before I left the county was on Olive Road. We made a stormwater park out of right there where the skating ring is on Olive Road, east of Davis.
Okay.
It was originally designed as just a stormwater pond. Well, during the construction process, there was a whole lot of trees out there, big, huge oak trees, and folks got a little concerned. They was like, I don't want these trees cut down. I mean, they're big old huge. I mean, we're talking 48-inch diameter, 50-inch diameter oak trees that are out there. So I did what I could. I worked with the engineer to deepen the pond and save some of the trees along the banks. Matter of fact, we added a little peninsula in that stormwater pond, and we put a walking path all the way around the pond with the little park benches. And then there's a handicapped parking spot over there and little parking areas that you can pull up. If you want to go for a walk around the stormwater pond, there you go. It's a park and a pond. Now, the nice thing about a stormwater park and a pond is local option sales tax can only be used for capital improvement projects. However, if it's a park, you can use local option sales tax for park maintenance, but you can't use it for drainage maintenance or capital improvement maintenance. So if it's called a stormwater park,
Sure.
you can use local option sales tax dollars. See, little things like that people don't know,
Right.
including some of our commissioners.
Sure.
So,
Well, you found that archive. Did you want to show maybe some of that, or just?
well, this is what DOT archived.
Okay, and that's 1979.
That's 1979.
Okay.
Now, one thing about NOAA rainfall data that's been a misconception that one of our commissioners in Santa Rosa County tried to imply is we only got 2 rainfall gauges here in this area. So we need more rainfall gauges. It's based off historical data.
Yep.
And what we actually have with NOAA rainfall data is this state of Florida right here. This is zone 1. What they said back in 1979 is this whole entire zone, it includes 7 counties, almost all the way over to Tallahassee. They all use the same rainfall chart. NOAA says, well, we've got 16 rainfall gauges in here, and plus there's some in Alabama.
Okay. So, just so this blue here, sorry, let me get out of the way of the mic. The blue that's outlined on the state of Florida is actually broke down right here, and all the little spots are the
Rainfall.
rain gauges,
Rain gauges.
locations. Okay, go ahead.
So, when you doing a design for a site, you pick. It's based off the actual site location. It's not based off of one size fits all. You're not using the same 13.44 inches, which is a 100-year 24-hour storm, across the whole zone. It interpolates between those rainfall gauges. Each site location has a different rainfall curve. It has different rainfall data. So if you're in the north end of the county, you're going to be closer to 2 inches more rainfall than if you're in the south end of the county, close to Pensacola Airport, you're going to be 2.5 inches. So it makes a difference on your site because it interpolates between those rainfall gauges. And what you get is you can put any place in the county, and it will spit you out a chart like this.
Okay.
And across the top, it does your intervals for 1, 2, 3, 10, 25, 50, 100, 200, 500, and 1,000-year storm. And then it has your durations from 5, 10, 15, 30, 60, 2-hour minutes, and then 2 hour, 3 hour, 6 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour. It all the way goes up to 60 days. DOT says if you're going to do a pond in a basin that doesn't have a way for it to overflow, then you've got to use a 100-year, 3-day, 7-day, and 10-day storm, which is on this chart.
Okay.
Well, guess what? That's not on this other chart.
The archive chart.
Yeah, it doesn't even go up to, it only goes up to a 100-year curve. So the data's more correct.
And if we switch to this, just add it to what, building code?
You add to the land development
Okay,
code.
land development code. You switch to this. Now, there's nothing, again.
You start building stormwater ponds big enough to accommodate impact down gradient.
Right. I get that, and that will assist, right? But there's more to go into it, and we could probably talk all afternoon on this.
We could.
But because I think if you take out those trees that you're referring to, and you put in a new pretty aesthetic tree that somebody would like to look at, I don't think that new tree is going to do what the natural tree or the tree from that area has been there. It's not going to suck the same amount of water.
No.
The new grass that the ornamental flowers or the ornamental grass that people want to see because it looks good is not going to do what naturally is there. Is that a true statement?
That is true.
And I know,
in other words, going in and clear cutting all the trees off and then bringing in tons of clay, which they don't even consider in their stormwater calculations.
Right, but it doesn't drain.
Clay don't drain.
That's right.
Sand does drain.
Sure. So, but what about? So I've also heard people bring up like, they call it it's like a permeable surface to drive on. However, I've done some research on that, and I've looked up, and it's not good for like highways and roadways, but parking lots it seems to be okay, and like in a residential neighborhood. The cost is a little bit more, but I think the permeable surfaces to drive on, like in a parking lot, now that's a little bit different because you got to get into the public and all that. But maybe even if the county went to maybe their facilities doing something of that nature, that would help in drainage too.
Right.
I just find it very hard to believe that we are not pushing to help if it's going to save in taxpayers' money, if it's going to save in the citizens' money. Overall, it saves money in I guess planning phase. It's going to cost money up front, but it sounds like if we do everything right, it'll save money in the long run for all involved.
Mm-hmm.
But if we do it, it's going to cost money for a few involved, and that can't happen. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say you're going to build a wastewater treatment plant.
Sure.
I mean, ECUA a few years ago they built the new plant and they took out the old stinky downtown.
Sure. Well, they're going to develop that soon. Right?
You're going to design that to accommodate everything that you think's going to go to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Stormwater is not any different. You design a pond and what's going to it to reduce the impacts down gradient. What does a wastewater treatment plant does? It treats the sewage going to it so it can be discharged back into our waterways.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Chris.
If it ain't big enough, it ain't gonna be able to do its job.
But if I'm in the game, I'm not saying this, but if I'm, let's just say this: if I'm following the rules by what the county or the state has in place, then I'm not at fault. I'm following the rules.
Yeah, the county's at fault. The state's at fault.
Well, not in this case. The state's good because of the DOT, right?
The DOT, the Water Management District, and FDEP, they have not adopted the national standards.
Got it.
They're still using old stuff too. Matter of fact, in Okaloosa County, Holt, they had Florida Power and Light. They did a 600